What's your background and what makes you you?
I grew up in Berkeley County, went to public schools, went to Shepherd College, got a degree in economics, worked for a year in the finance industry, and then went to WVU. I've done a little bit of everything, do a lot of farming, a little bit of farming. I'm an airline pilot by trade, and I served 6 years in the legislature from 13 to 18. And, just decided to run for office when I saw that things were just not going the right way in the 2010-2012 timeframe.
So looking at 2020 here, and just everything that is going on, how do you think the governor of West Virginia should be handling the state right now?
Well, you can talk to any small business person and they'll tell you the same thing. There's no uniformity in how they're enforcing these rules. The rules literally change, the target's moving and what the actual rules are. They're very frustrated. It makes no sense that you close down a barber shop that's a one-man operation like they did in the Eastern Panhandle and then arrest the guy because he couldn't get the bailout money. They wouldn't allow him to get it, so he went back because he had to make a living, and they arrest this guy, but yet you've got hundreds of people in Walmart every day or standing in line to go into Lowe's. It makes no logical sense. So I think the governor has not been very transparent, definitely not been very honest with the people. The whole idea behind shutting the state down, if you listen to them, was to flatten the curve. We had Albert Wright, head of WVU Medicine, and we had Clay Marsh on Hoppy Kirksville statewide talk line, and both said over a month ago, 5-6 weeks ago, that they could handle any surge because they were afraid of if we had a surge without doing anything that you would overwhelm the hospitals. Well, 5 or 6 weeks ago, the biggest hospitals in the state of West Virginia said they could handle any surge, but yet we're still shut down over a month later. It makes no sense.
Looking at an issue that seemed to be more at the forefront before all this was roads. The governor has his Roads to Prosperity plan. Some folks, are happy, some others aren't. How would you handle getting roads fixed in the state?
Well, first of all, you have to get rid of waste. And the perfect example is his Roads to Prosperity program. If you drive any back road in the state of West Virginia, and I just was on a radio show this morning, that you'll see these Roads to Prosperity project signs on a road that has no project on it. But yet there's a pothole right next to this gentleman, the radio host, said that right next to this sign is a big, huge pothole. We've wasted so much money and I've seen these. I thought at first it was just something one time, but no, I've seen it all over the state of West Virginia. We're spending massive amounts of money to put signs up, the government put signs up to tell us they're working on the roads when people know otherwise. So that money would have been better spent actually fixing the potholes and fixing slips. I mean, I drove this one section of Route 2 over in Jackson County that it's been a one-way road for 18 months and the slip is not fixed. We have to prioritize. And that's one thing that we're not doing is prioritizing the major problems on West Virginia's roads.
If elected to office, what is your game plan? What would you do first and how would you carry things out?
Well, the first thing we're going to have to deal with, just like we did in 2017 when the current governor took office, is we're going to have to deal with the budget. There's major budget problems looming because of some of the shutdown. They're already actually, like as an example, in the DOH, they're cutting, you want to fix roads, you don't cut. They were working the workers 50 hours a week, and now they're down to 40. We have to address the budget, and you do that by eliminating costs. And one example is healthcare in the state of West Virginia, and really nationwide. Healthcare costs is a big issue. PEIA is an example for our budget. How it affects our budget is PEIA. So we need to take a look at what Indiana has done as an example. Indiana took 2 measures, and it saved them 75% on their healthcare costs for their public employees. So they did price transparency, which is the same thing that at the national level Donald Trump tried to do with an executive order, and they provided a major medical plan for the employees, but then funded an HSA, and that saved 75% on their health care costs for public employees. In the state of West Virginia, that would equate, if it was 75%, it would be $450 million, even in a more reasonable basis because we have an older population and less healthy population. We're looking at $250 to $300 million minimum savings, and that's a huge deal when it comes to the budget in the state of West Virginia.
How do you feel that your past experience would help you as governor?
Well, first of all, looking back at that 2017 when we had that supposed big deficit, the governor's idea was to raise taxes $450 million. I put a budget in, which was unheard of in the state legislature at the time. As an individual legislator, I put my own budget in to balance the budget without raising taxes and still give the teachers a 2% pay raise. So I already understand the budget. I understand all the players involved. I have very good relationships on both sides of the aisle in the legislature, and I would look to move West Virginia forward with the proper policies.
What would you like residents at home to know?
At home, back home, or all over the state?
Anywhere in the state.
Well, I'm more like them than either one of the major guys I'm running against. I've never inherited $1 million or even hundreds of millions of dollars like the current governor. So I'm more like them. I think I've got my ear to the pulse of the people more than him, and I'm going to put West Virginia and West Virginia citizens first. So that's pretty much how I'm different.
Are there any other issues that are important to you that you want to talk about that haven't been mentioned yet?
Well, I mean, we have to make West Virginia more competitive with neighboring states for economic development. And as an example, the big thing everybody talks about is the equipment inventory tax. Ohio and Pennsylvania do not have it. If you drive Route 2 from Chester to Huntington, you'll see all kinds of economic development across the river. It's not happening in West Virginia. Everybody says we can't do it because you got to make up the revenue. The reality is it's not a zero-sum game. Empty concrete pads in southern West Virginia that used to have buildings on them don't pay taxes, or at least not to the level if you put a commercial building on them. So we need to work on making West Virginia more competitive with our neighboring states, and we can start it with that one simple policy measure would allow places like Warwood Tool up in the northern panhandle in Wheeling, which has been around since the mid-1800s, to stay in West Virginia. They're talking about just literally going across the river. Or a small business like in Martinsburg, West Virginia, a friend of mine I went to high school with has a machining business. He would be able to expand his business, add onto his building, which pays his commercial taxes, but not have to pay those onerous taxes on his equipment and inventory. And I think West Virginia would benefit from it. If equipment inventory taxes, getting rid of them, was a problem, it wasn't a net positive, then why do we do pilot programs all throughout the state, whether it's Toyota, Procter & Gamble, all those people, all those businesses do not pay equipment and inventory taxes. And they have a net positive effect. And I think that's what people need to change their paradigm. And the people that are making the other argument it's a false argument.
Is there anything else you want to say I didn't touch on here?
Oh, please check me out on Facebook. My Facebook page is Michael Folk for West Virginia Governor, and my website is folk4wv.com. And something no candidate, I guarantee you, from governor will ever give you is his cell phone number. It's 304-279-6797.